I like donating my blood. Well, that's a sentence that you're not gonna hear very often in your life because most people are afraid of needles, but I'm not. And just like going to the dentist when we were kids freaked everybody out, for me it was okay. And that's the same for donating blood. So it's something that I've always wanted to do. Just like for the hair donation I talked about in the fourth episode, it's something that once I knew it was possible to do it, I was like, I'm gonna do it someday. And I did it twice, and I'm gonna do it more times, multiple times in my life, because that is something that I can do to help people. Because with one blood donation, you can help up to 3 persons, so that's pretty nice. And it's also a bit like something that's in the family because my grandma used to do it, and now I'm the one in the family doing it, so yeah, that's a bit of a family stuff. So, yes, I did give my blood twice, and both times went very good. That's why I want to do it again and again. And the first time I did it, I was in Spain, and the second time I was in Belgium. So I'm gonna explain to you a little bit how it was. So obviously I'm gonna talk about needles and blood, not that much, but if that's a sensitive topic for you, maybe just skip that episode and come back next week. But anyway, so the first time I donated my blood, it was 2 years ago. It was Sunday, the 13th of October, October 2019. And so, as I said, I was in Spain, in that little town where I lived in during 4 months during my gap year. And I know I have to make an episode about that. It just so many things happened in 4 months that it's pretty hard to remember everything and make a good episode about it. But anyway, so I was in my little town near Madrid, and I saw like posters in the streets saying that there was a blood donation day. I don't know if you can say it like that, but you know, a day where everybody can go and donate their blood. And yes, the good thing about that day is that instead of you having to go to the hospital to donate your blood, it was the opposite. Like the hospital was coming to you because, and again, I don't know how it's called, but it was like a kind of van, a kind of car, but a big car that was able to go from one town to another, and like that, yes, you didn't really have to move from town, and it's like the hospital was coming to you. And so that's what happened. So on that Sunday I just went there, and I had to file some forms in Spanish, and I think I had to show my ID, but I'm not really sure about it. And so the forms were all about my health and if I've been sick or not for the last few days, blah blah blah. And then I had a chat with a person from the medical staff, and yes, we just talked about my health and stuff like that, because when you want to donate blood, there are some restrictions. So I don't know all of them by heart, but if you go like to the NHS website or the Red Cross or whatever it is in your country, well, you will see everything. I will put the links for Belgium in the description, but obviously maybe some restrictions are different from a country to another. I don't really know. And well, the main restriction is that you have to be at least 18 and you have to weigh 50 kilos. And for me, both restrictions were okay, so I was able I was able to donate my blood. But before that, she also had to take my blood pressure, and because it was the first time I was gonna do it, and everything was in Spanish, which is not my native language, I was pretty anxious and stressed. So the first time she took my blood pressure, it wasn't okay. And so we talked for a few minutes more, and then the second time it was alright. So I could donate, and I was happy about that. So then I laid down on a table, and if I remember it correctly, like they kind of disinfect the area where the needle is gonna be. And so that's what happened. And yes, then I don't know, it takes like 5-10 minutes, and then that's it. And as it was my first time, they took very good care of me, making sure that everything was okay, that I felt all right, I wasn't gonna faint, etc. Because, well, yes, as it was my first time, I didn't know how my body would react to that, because when you need to have like blood samples for an analysis, they don't take as much blood as they do when you donate your blood. So yes, we're not sure how my body was going to react, but everything went very well. And then I received a tote bag with something written in Spanish, and you could translate it to English, and it would be like, I donate my blood, what about you? And with that, I received some crisps, biscuits, and a Capri Sun, which is a kind of tropical juice. And so yes, everything went super well. And so when I was in England, I decided that I was gonna do it again. But Corona happened, and I didn't have the chance to donate my blood, because I wasn't sure if I was gonna stay in England or not, or if I was gonna go back to Belgium, blah blah blah. So in the end, I didn't do it. But I know that at some point I will go back to England or United Kingdom, and I will donate my blood in that country, because it's really important for me to, yes, be able to kind of help people in Belgium, but also in Spain and in England, because like I have loved my time in both countries, Spain and England, and if I can help, well, even if it's only 3 persons, that's amazing. So yes, I didn't manage to do it in England, but I will at some point. And then I did it for the second time in Belgium, in Brussels, more precisely. So I think that my mom saw in a magazine about the neighborhood that the same kind of event, so like blood donation day, was gonna happen. So like they transformed a cultural center into a place where you could donate your blood. So it wasn't a cultural center anymore for one day. And yes, more or less the same thing happened. So I had to file. I had to file. Or I had to fill. Ooh. Well, I had to write stuff in forms, and it was in French, so that kind of stress wasn't there. Plus, it was the second time I was doing it, so I was more. I knew what was gonna happen, basically. And yes, also had to talk with someone from the medical staff, and I had to explain that no, it's not the first time I'm doing it, but it's not in the records because I did it in Spain. So it's my first time in Belgium, but not my first time doing it. And yes, blood pressure, and then poof, you go to the table, 5-10 minutes, and that's it. And I didn't receive a tote bag, but I did receive a face mask because, well, we were still in the pandemic and we still are. So I received a beautiful face mask with the word thank you written in it in several languages. Well, basically the 3 languages that we speak in Belgium, which are French, Dutch, and German. And with that, I think we could eat some waffles, no crisps, and we also could have like a drink. I think it was water, orange juice, or Coke. I think. I don't really remember everything, but yeah. And the funny thing about the face mask is that at least once or twice a week in the public transport, I see someone wearing that face mask, and I'm just like, hey, I know what you did, and that's a great thing, so that's pretty nice. And yes, that's it. Well, no, that's not it, but that's it for for both experiences. They were pretty different because in a different context, with or without COVID, in a different country, Spain, Belgium. But both went very well, and that's the reason why I'm gonna do it again. And I wanted to, the reason why I decided to make that episode this week, it's because a few days ago I received an email from the Red Cross of Belgium telling me that there's a new blood donation day, let's say. I'm gonna keep with that kind of word. And yes, they were saying that I could book an appointment and just do it. And I would love to do it, but I can't. And I'm gonna explain to you why. So, one of the restrictions when you donate your blood is that if you got pierced or if you got tattooed, you have to wait at least 4 months before being able to donate again. And I got tattooed at the end of August, and the blood collection day, blood donation day, is in mid-December. So at that time, it would only make like 3 months and a half. So I don't think that's enough for me to be able to give my blood again. So I'm gonna call them to be 100% sure, but I mean, I saw it on their website, so I think that I'm really gonna have to wait 4 months, which is a bit sad because I really want to give, but at the same time, well, if it's written, then I guess it's for a good reason. And the same happened to me in August or July. I received an email saying, hey, you can donate again, but I got tattooed in May. You know, that cute elephant that is not perfect, and I talked about it in the second episode of the podcast. And yes, same problem as now. It was only 3 months and a half and not 4, so I just didn't go. I didn't even call. So I'm gonna call this time to be 100% sure that I cannot donate, but I don't have much hope. I'm just gonna wait for the next one or just go whenever I want to after those 4 months. And yes. But I think the reason why it's because when you get pierced or tattooed, there's a little chance that you might catch a virus or a bacteria, a disease. And from what I remember reading, it takes 4 months for the virus or anything else to be seen in the blood analysis. So that's the reason why you have to wait. Like that, if you did catch something, it's gonna appear and they're gonna tell you, and they were not gonna give your blood to another person because they're not gonna give someone contaminated blood. So I think that's the reason why. And of course, I'm sure that 99.99999% of the time, well, nobody catches anything while they get tattooed or pierced, but there's a tiny chance that it can happen, so it's better not to take any risk. And yes, I guess that's the reason why, and that's also the reason why when you get tattooed, at least tattooed, because I've never been pierced, so, well, I don't have any piercing, so I don't know if you have to sign some forms and stuff like that. But before getting tattooed, you have to, yes, file some forms saying that you do know that there are some risk with you getting tattooed. And that's also the reason why when you're getting tattooed and also pierced, I guess you have to make sure that the person that's gonna tattoo you opened everything in front of you, like the needles and stuff. Well, everything except the ink, I think, because everything has to be used only once. So like they use it on your body and then poof, right to the trash. So yes, I'm gonna call them, but I don't know. Well, I think I'm not gonna be able to donate this time. And I didn't mention it earlier, but for me it's pretty clear that as it is a donation, just like for the hair donation, you don't get paid for doing it. You know, you do it for free, you do it in a altruistic way, and of course they give you some food and non-alcoholic drinks because, well, they have to, but that's it. Or at least in Belgium, and I guess in European countries, you don't get any money for it. So yes, that's almost it. I just have one last point I want to talk about, but before I talk about it, because it's a bit negative, well, I can only encourage you to donate your blood as well, because, well, it's a nice experience, and I know that I love trying new things, so that's something that you could try too. It's gonna help some people, which is nice, and yes, maybe, who knows, maybe you're gonna love it and you're gonna do it 3 or 4 times a year, as because that's the amount of time that you can do it. I don't know, maybe you're gonna discover a passion and become a nurse, who knows, I mean. So yes, that's a very nice experience to do, and I think it's worth trying at least once in your life. And now the more negative point, it is that, well, one of the restrictions that exist in Belgium, so I'm only talking about Belgium, and now that I'm recording it, we are in November 2021, so it might change, but right now the law is that homosexual men cannot donate their blood except if they don't have any sexual relationships during 1 year. And I have to say that I do not understand that stupid restriction. I don't get it. I know it's because of um, the HIV and AIDS epidemic that happened during the 80s. I think it happened at that time, 70s, 80s. And I know it's because of that. But now we do have some scientific information saying that everybody can catch the virus, like, of course, the LGBTQ plus community, as well as the straight community, and the straight people. So I think it's very stupid for the Belgian government to prohibit gay people, well, gay men, to donate their blood. Well, you're gonna say yes, but they can do it. They just have to like have abstinence for 1 year. And I'm just like, but nobody is gonna tell their partner saying, well, sorry, babe, I really want to donate my blood, so no more sex for 1 year. Like, that's never gonna happen. Never. So I don't know, I just don't understand that restriction. Maybe in the 80s it made some sense, and because we didn't know anything about that disease, but now we do. And we know that everything, well, not everything, everybody could catch it. So I don't understand the point of that restriction. From my point of view and my perspective, it is just discriminatory, and it's getting rid of X amount of people in the Belgian population that would maybe love to donate their blood, but they cannot do it because of their sexual orientation, and I don't understand that. So if you have an explanation for that that is scientific and not homophobic, you can write it. I will happily read it and maybe change my mind. But right now, I'm just pissed at the Belgian government because I don't understand that stupid law from my point of view, at least. And you know what? In France, they used to have that same restriction. And a few years ago, they decided that, okay, we're gonna change that 1 year of abstinence about sex, we're gonna change it to 4 months. And now that restriction just doesn't exist anymore in France, but it still exists in Belgium, and I don't understand why. And I have to say that I'm pretty disappointed about it, because for me, Belgium is quite an open-minded country about homosexuality and the queer community and stuff like that. So seeing that there's still discriminatory restrictions about something as important as being able to donate blood, because most of the time, even the Red Cross of Belgium, or like guys and folks, well, we need some help because we don't have enough blood, or it's a bit weak and stuff like that. So like deleting and getting rid of the gay men in Belgium, I think that's pretty stupid, because I'm sure that most homosexual men would love to donate their blood, but they can't do it because of that restriction, and I think that's sad. But except that, if you can donate your blood, I would highly recommend you to do it. And I'm doing it because I know that people of my community, the LGBTQ plus community, they cannot do it. So in a way, I'm kind of doing it for them and from them. But yeah, if you have any information about that, drop a comment on Spotify, because now you can write comments on Spotify, or YouTube, Instagram, whatever. We'll talk next week, and yes, that's it. Bye.